Thanks for joining Build Crew Live. I'm Graham. We've got Thorsten, Ryan, Sayan, AJ. Thanks everybody for joining us today. This is our weekly show. If you're not familiar with Build Crew, if you go to buildcrew.team, you could join. It's a community for anybody who's building with AI agents. There's so many of us that are building side projects, building companies by ourselves now because you could do that. And it's just a community for us all to get together. There's so much stuff changing every day. How do you stay on top of it? And that's what Build Crew is all about. We do a daily live stream or a daily stand-up in our Discord channel, and that's where we met AJ. He's one of our great Build Crew members who's joining us today. But yeah, just wanted to welcome you all. Maybe we can all go around and say quick intros, and then we can talk about our first question of the day. Actually, let's just get into the first question because we didn't intros. AJ, we'll have you introduce yourself when it's time for your section. But this is my question I ask every week. What's something you've changed your mind about this week? It's every week we're totally convicted on one thing about agentic coding, and then every week that thing gets dashed. So I'm curious what's one thing you've changed your mind about. Maybe AJ, you're our guest of honor if you want to jump in.
Sure. I think it's the length at which the agent can do code for me. So I gave it baby steps in the beginning, more, and now I feel like entire features just rip them out.
Yeah, I want to pile on that for a second because I have this repo called AI Dev Tasks, and I've always been shocked with how popular it is. And it's like create a PRD and then create a task list based on that PRD, and then handhold the AI as it completes the task list. And I'm about to rip out the third step completely. Like it's just absolutely not necessary that you're like, what? continue.
What? Is this already at the discussion section?
But if the topic is so spicy you have to talk, then go for it. So yeah,
I think AJ's gonna have a hangover soon. I think everybody walks up this ladder and goes like longer, faster, more, and then one day they wake up and think, I don't understand what this code does. then you're gonna go back to I gotta put a leash on this again, you know.
Everything's a pendulum, you know. It's not gonna come back.
That's a one-way street. But
AJ,
he says until next week he changes his mind.
You can completely disagree with Thorsten, just so you know. That is allowed.
I mean,
we're live.
Classic engineering practices apply. Like don't let things go off the guardrail. Do unit tests, do integration tests, make sure your AI writes, code that you can debug, that you know what's going on. I think yeah, you might be right, Thorsten, but I've been doing this incrementally for, since GPT-3 came out, and I feel like my incrementalism has just kept going up and up and up and up. But my tests have become much more integrated over time so that I can have this incrementalism. And then, of course, just learning tricks like work trees and, better Git will help you through that incrementalism.
I love it. I think I personally, just because you're a guest, I think Thorsten's wrong, and also I'll take any chance I get to jab at him.
It's going to be edited, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Scott, yeah.
He's fired. Okay. Saying what's your thing you've changed your mind about this week?
I've always kind of been a bit paranoid of I guess kind of on the unfortunately on Thorsten's side here, but I'm always paranoid that if you don't really watch it too much, it goes and does crazy stuff, and I've seen enough of that to make me worried. And so one way that I was kind of always watching was whenever it would do searches for context and stuff, I'd kind of be looking at it and saying, yeah, okay, this looks about right, and sometimes I'd stop it and retry it if not. But now, and so because of that, I always wanted to have nice, thorough searches whenever it's doing searches of the code base. But I've been playing around with, and we've been playing around with some just faster things that search maybe not as thoroughly, but much more quickly. And this is I think the fundamental thing that makes agentic coding great is it doesn't have the same human constraints. It doesn't have to be paying as much attention because it can just do 10 things at once. And I think with searching, I'm kind of finally starting to see it swing that way, where I don't care how thoroughly you do it, just do more of it, or just do it more in parallel, and you get probably about the same results. And I end up waiting a lot less, which is the biggest thing that frustrates me nowadays. It's just I hit enter and I'm kind of twiddling my thumbs or waiting for something to finish. But I think I have enough confidence where it's at least as good now. So I'm
that's why we build.
Yeah.
That's why we built AMP Freeze, to just inject ads into that waiting time so that you
Yeah.
can be company, we can be making money. It's good for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
You just need Muzak now.
Yeah. Oh my God, we do. Thorsten, top of the feature list is elevator Muzak. That would absolutely.
Well, I'm not sure if I should say this. Maybe we'll build it. But somebody was suggesting to me, in Chrome, when you don't have an internet connection, it shows that little dinosaur game that jump and run. Yeah, they were suggesting we should have something like this when you wait for the agent in the prompt input box.
That's fun.
Okay.
I would play it.
A little.
Oh yeah.
And then on a more serious note, I'm going to use this occasion. I actually think, I don't want to derail this, but sorry.
No, please.
I think the whole attention thing is still under discussed. Like I think it's an actual problem that what do you do while you wait for the agent? And sometimes this is going to take a minute and then you're going to command tab away for a minute or whatever. And it's not like you're always in the mood to have 8 agents running at the same time. And the command tab, it usually doesn't stop at the minute, even though we do have the audio notification. But
yeah.
I'm stepping down from the soapbox, but
is that your one? I mean, you've got the microphone. Is that your thing you've changed your mind about this week?
No. So I actually have something good this week.
Surprising.
Well, didn't prepare. This just came up right now. But so the last time we talked, this was last week, Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
And we actually launched AMP-Free on Wednesday. So I'm going to use this occasion to say that it wasn't in the last week, but over the course of the last few weeks and months, I changed my mind on ads. Like, I think I've always been, AMP-Free, our free thing of AMP, but instead of you paying for it, we show ads, right? And I guess I've been using ad blockers for the last 20 years in my internet browser. And basically my earliest memories of ads were like the pop-ups or the banners or the, when you want to hit the download button, but turns out, hey, fake, this was an ad called download. So now you got a virus. Like, that was my first impressions of ads. But I do think that ads can make a business work on the internet. And it's actually, when you think about it, Google Maps has ads that you cannot block.
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry. Tech guy discovers ads.
I mean, come on.
Work.
Like, I look, like, even people, they were saying like, what ads? I can't believe you're doing ads. And I'm like, guys, like, one of the technological marvels of the internet, freaking Google Maps, which is crazy, right? It's really insane. Good. It's supported by ads, and you wouldn't be able to tell because the ads are so integrated. And it's not in a shitty, bad way, like, oh, they're changing the street is called McDonald's Street. It's not, but it makes the product free and work. And so I changed my mind on this, and I now think ads are good, or they make a lot of stuff on the internet work.
I'm going to pile on and say, I'm surprised at how many of the ads I'm clicking on in AMP, because every dev cares about dev tooling. Like, you want to know, like, oh, is there a better tool that I don't even know about? And so I'm clicking all of them, learning all, like, oh, I haven't thought about that part of, my pipeline, or maybe I could use that. It's like literally helpful.
Yeah. It's like a mini Hacker News where you're like, oh, I'll click on this.
So
I'm sorry, but a more believable mind change thing has never been true. Like, guys who launch ad product think ad products are good. It's like clearly
this is the true. Causation is different though, right? Like, if we wouldn't have changed our mind, we wouldn't have launched it, I guess.
Well, this is like, I've always been on the smooth brain side of the ads curve, where I'm like, ads, I don't want to pay for stuff. Ads are good. And I feel like you've traversed the bell curve and now reached again on my correct assumption. So I'm glad. Welcome. It's the
just one more thing on this. I don't know who this is, not an advertisement. Well, maybe it is, but
maybe it is.
Like, last week on Twitter, people were like, ads, they ruin the product, right? They ruin the product. Example, YouTube. And I've been paying for YouTube Premium since 2 years, I think. One of the best purchases ever. This is an advertisement, I guess. And people were saying, oh, but the ads got worse. They're unskippable and whatnot. They put more ads in and whatnot. But then I'm like, but you can pay. You know, like you
Yeah.
get it for free. You still have that option to pay, and you get the better product. So
Exactly.
I think it's relevant engagement. I think your point about having dev tools just given to you or told to you when you're coding, that's, I mean, I who doesn't know Theo at this point, right?
Right.
And he's basically a walking, talking advertisement for different things. And there's also that YouTube channel that it's like the Daily Coder. I can't remember what it's called anymore. It's Shit Fast or something like that. Totally get you. Yeah.
He's also not cheap. By like, I don't want to drop. It's a lot. It's like whatever you think it costs to have him talk about your product, it is so much more. It will make your eyes bleed. And so I just think anyway, this is not to talk. I would love to beat Theo and have to make you have eye bleeding prices to.
You could have said you're doing for 10% less just now. This was
yeah.
your chance.
But still, nobody would pay. Nobody wants me. I'm here because I am locked in this room. Ryan, what's your thing you changed your mind about this week?
All right. So mine is about CI/CD. So producer Scott, if you want to throw my screen up, I actually just saw this tweet today by Fatit. And I thought this was really interesting. So this is a long post, so I'm going to sort of summarize it for you. He's basically saying he's separating out E to E, end-to-end testing from his CI pipeline. And so if you just kind of scroll down here, he's basically saying, I think we should separate CI/CD, and that we put like an async version of E to E in CI, and CD you can ship, and then we wait for E to E running in the background. And I think this is cool. And the reason why, and maybe this isn't novel or interesting, or something that big a deal to change my mind on, but as I build on Tangle, this constant battle with flaky E to E testing, and trying to wind it into your one CI/CD pipe is just a pain. Like, and E to E is constantly breaking in some way, and Playwright's, something's not working right. So I'm gonna try this, but immediately people were kind of mad about it. Like,
but it doesn't fix the issue of flaky, right? It's more like you shouldn't block the PR from it.
No, but this is kind of funny. Great. So I just get to YOLO merge my PR, and it's someone else's problem with the integration test. Awesome. So yeah, there is problems, but I thought it was something interesting to change my mind on. That's me.
I like it. This is back to the pendulum, right? Like, how long do you make people responsible for their own end-to-end integration, or should we go back to people just throwing stuff over the fence to each other and seeing how that goes up and down?
I'm just gonna make it Thorsten's problems. So
right,
that's all.
Yeah.
I want to call out some friends on the audience, so it's nice to see Francisco. Also saw Def Dog saying need more ads. So appreciate you.
Yep. And then there was Blank had the thing. Does it feel risky to you? Maybe it depends on the use cases. Like for enterprises who have a goal of 100% uptime, that's not really an option, right?
Yeah, fair. There's a lot to be there, but I'm going to play with that, and I've changed my mind on that. So the other thing I've changed my mind on, which I'm very proud of, is I have a keyboard cover for my Happy Hacking keyboard, and I think it's very important, and I've changed my mind about that.
This is
What was the original stance? No keyboard cover.
No keyboard, and I also didn't have a wrist rest, which was killing me. So I've changed my mind about that.
Wow.
I think of it as like a natural aging. I'm like a pro athlete, and so my body's just gonna age me out of having to work on computers, and
there you go.
That's what I need to. That's right. I think that's sustainable. Okay, so before we jump into everybody's like full-on coding tip, if you're watching, we definitely want to hear what you have changed your mind on this week. So please feel free to drop those comments, and we'll definitely address those as we get through here, because it's the whole point of Build Crew is we can't all possibly know this stuff individually, but us all learning it together is where we're going to get this. So, and eventually we're going to train an LLM on all these conversations, and no one will have to think ever again. So, Thorsten, you're up first. You slip on out of here. What's your coding tip for this week?
I feel bad because this is again a little bit of a product placement, but somebody just said, somebody just said in the chat, we're releasing so many things, and I don't want to badmouth things we released, but this might be my favorite thing that somebody worked on the last couple of weeks. Okay. So if we show my screen right now, this is going to come out tomorrow, like if everything goes to plan.
Ooh, preview.
So this is pretty edgy stuff. So look, like this is your standard AMP thread. I noticed I just installed a new font, so now I have ligatures, which is disgusting. I need to disable this. But so I have a thread here, right? 5% of the context window. It's not super long, but say I had to use more context, or now, I want to take this into a different direction, but I want to, keep some of the context, right? And there's multiple ways to do this. Some people, they say, hey, write everything to, plan.md, or write the tests or the file names to this file, or they compact, and then they hope that the compaction keeps track of the valuable information. And so the thing that Nikolai on our team, I'm sure he's listening with his family gathered around him, what he built is called handoff. So here's the hint, right? This starts a new focused thread with the relevant files and a prompt. And you use it by saying handoff and then your goal, right? So in this thread, I implemented the features also coming soon. And now I can say handoff, I want to now test this feature. And this is not the best prompt of all time, but just to showcase this, I'm doing this live. I hope this works. So it worked, amazing. So what happened just now is AMP took my prompt with the goal of, I want to test this feature. It fed my goal along with the rest of the thread to another LLM, and it said, extract a prompt that would be a good prompt to use in a new thread with all the relevant context in it, right? And what it ended up generating is, wait a second, let me see if I can do this. Ugh. How do I, yeah, there you go. Let me scroll up here. There you go. So here, this is the prompt that was generated, right? The previous work implemented thread, mention, parsing, resolution. Your task is to test this new feature, locate or create this. And all of this was generated by an LLM. And here, it tags the relevant files, right? So if I now hit return, I now have a new thread with all of the relevant context. And I can, before hitting return, obviously I can edit this. And so, we don't have to look at this or what it does. You can take this off the screen. But basically, I think this is a good way to manage context. I think you have one single thread and you keep compacting, or you have auto compaction running, or you tiny compaction or something, or other stuff that we had, which is, you create a summary and put it in a new thread. I think this is not as good as this, where you're focused about, okay, given this thread, given this context window, I want to take this information out and put it in a new thread. And it's, like I said, like it's been truly a feature where people, like the heart emoji in Slack, or, I love this, or I also love it. I really enjoy using it. So I'm pretty excited about this.
It's awesome. I've used it many times already. And it just takes that extra load off your mind where you're like, I need to continue this thread. How do I do that in a really smart way and tag the right stuff? It's awesome.
And I mean, it's not even, a small thread lover here. Like I love the tiny thread with not a lot of context, right? But even it sometimes happens that you start a thread and then in the middle of the thread, it goes off in some weird, you have like a weird interlude where some tests fail and then you get back on track or something. If you compact or you keep using that thread, there's a chance that like that middle part that was an interlude or derailment is still in context. So, and I think with handoff and like the goal, it's good at like picking out the relevant information and only keeping that in a new thread. And I know that, for example, Claude Code also lets you steer its compaction. But I think the advantage is that here in AMP, you have like separate threads and they're like, the conversations, they're first-class citizens. So you can actually see them in the web UI, And Justin, it's going to be released tomorrow. I think maybe some people have already discovered it, but it's going to be out tomorrow.
And does it work in AMP free as well as paid or no?
I'm not so sure that I maybe should say something live on air, but I'm pretty sure, yes.
Okay, cool. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Sayan, is
Yeah.
this something you've wanted and requested? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. I think I've tried it a couple times, and I think it's nice. And I think the biggest thing for me is I have a split here. In theory, I'm a small thread lover, but sometimes you get a really nice context window early on, and you're like, I really want to keep this.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah,
been a
that's
couple of things. There's been a couple of things that have been really nice for that. One is subagents, which is kind of like a more crude representation of this sort of thing, where you would hope that the main thread would kind of push off the relevant context, and it could go and do it without mostly polluting the main thread. I think that's the thing that's nice about handoff is you have more control over what's actually passed over. You don't just kind of sit there, twiddle your thumbs, and hope it comes up with the right subagent prompt. And B, it's now interactive, right? You can't really interact with our subagents, but they've been spun off. But now you can continue working on that thread, so that's nice. But yeah, I think the second thing, this is also I think a feature that was released this week that I really like is I use it in VS Code. I guess don't pull up your pitchforks. I do use the GUI as well, but I think the going back and being able to edit last messages, that's another beautiful way to keep like the context you really care about. A lot of the times I'll just have throwaway work in the same thread, and then once I'm kind of done, like those interludes, if the tests pass at the end, I don't really care that it knows that the tests have been changed. I'll just go up and be like, okay, let's start from here again. Like we know the test passed now. You can just remove this from your view of the world. So that's I've been loving all of the like progress we've been making and like all this like context management stuff in threads. I think it's nice.
Yeah, that was released yesterday. Ability to edit messages in the CLI.
AJ, is this do you as someone who doesn't have
this feature
privy to access to our and like our Slack where you get to hear about all this stuff, is this something that you are interested in and maybe like
it's something
that comes out?
I'm like thinking through it actually right now because it's always fun to put more things into an existing workflow, and I'm just trying to think of like, okay, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? As I'm hearing it, I'm like, where am I going to put this? Where am I going to put this? And I think handoffs is something that and this is, forgive me, but like, cursor, right? In cursor, this is where I tend to do these things. I reference chats and I say like, okay, now given that chat and given this particular thing, go and do that thing and then come back to me when you're done. And, I have the little decorators of make an issue and make a PR out of it so that I can always, keep it sandboxed away from what I'm actually working on. I think that makes a lot of sense, what this feature is.
I'm looking for the ban button. I don't see it. No, I'm just kidding. Using cursors allowed in build crew. That's totally cool.
But to the point, like I've been saying this about a bunch of features. Like there's a lot of overlap, and you can see that it's some kind of the same mechanism, because at the end of the day, we're talking about a context window in which you put text, right? And you can say, I pull it in, or I reference this, or whatever. And I think referencing past conversations, which is also something I work on. Somebody asked me on Slack, they were like, isn't this kind of like handoff? I was like, yeah, but from the other side, or like you can have multiple references to different things, but yeah, there's a lot of overlap.
Chat, please comment if you want me to make a small thread lover t-shirt that people can get, because we've said it twice now, and I just
I'd wear that.
Yeah, I feel like I would wear that. That's good. All right, Ryan, what's your tip of the week?
Okay, so I'm going to show Atlas. So this is more of like a UX sort of thread I'm pulling on here versus a pure dev thread.
Before you do, Ryan, Atlas, come on. It's been out, not even 24 hours. Can you give...
Yes, I'll give some context. Okay. So this is a new browser. So we're actually looking at AJ's website here. This is a new browser actually released yesterday by OpenAI. So the default experience looks like this, right? So you actually have, you can choose your model down here. And then this is do all sorts of various things like, who is Thorsten Ball?
This is going to be awkward.
You are on the internet. So look at that. Look at your pictures. Awesome. Wow. Anyway, so, this is obviously a replacement for Google, a replacement for Chrome. This is an interesting deal, right? You can click through all sorts of beautiful images. There's some videos.
Look at that photo in the third row. Look at this. This is 13 years old. No, the one below. The JIT hits the fan. That was a good talk.
Oh my gosh.
The one. Yeah.
So this is a replacement, for Chrome potentially. for Dia, for Comet. It's an agentic browser. Now, I'm just using it as in browser mode right now, so that's not that interesting. But what is interesting is this. So say that you have a website, and we all do this. Like, you become myopic on your own stuff, and it's hard to see it from an objective perspective. So what I did is I pulled up AJ's site, and I have this simple prompt: act like a user has clicked the link from AJ's X profile and is considering hiring him. Click around and explore and look for problems. Now, AJ is building startups and doesn't need to be hired. I just want to be clear about that, but just in case he did. And then you click agent mode, right? So let's just kind of see what this does. Puts this beautiful.
Ooh, I'm scared.
Yeah,
I'm really scared.
Is it going to hire AJ?
If you don't click agent mode, it just has the website in context, right?
Yep.
Okay.
But this is me trying to observe a user, right? Which is kind of fun to be able to do. Obviously, you can do this with Playwright, but this is just kind of neat to see how a theoretical user might experience the site, what they do. So I've been using this a little bit on Untangle, which I'm building. Act like someone who just got to serve divorce papers, and they found this site. What would they do, and what would they think about it? So this is kind of a fun example of using Atlas and agent mode. As Thorsten said, you can do all sorts of things that you can switch from agent mode to various different modes. So
is it dumb question, but is it different than using the agent mode in the ChatGPT?
No, it's very similar, except
it's just that you can see it, I guess.
Well, no, there is a fundamental difference, right? So I'm actually going to go. So what I did is I clicked take over. And what's interesting is the site seems to be, I don't know why something's not working. I guess it clicked through. Seeing it live. Oh, it was trying to go to
to the publication I have. Okay, cool.
Yeah, one of the links, which is interesting.
Wow,
okay.
Way to brag. It's me on podcast first, and then this guy shows up with papers.
I'm on Arvix. And producer Scott, could you pull AJ up just so we can see his beautiful face while we're doing this? There. Hi, AJ. Okay, now let's go back. Now let's go back to the screen. There we go. So the interesting thing here is, watch this. So if I say I actually want you to do this in agent mode, you can choose interesting. Let me show you. Okay, so let's go to ryancarson.com, for instance. Pull up agent. Okay, so I could say agent mode, but you can choose logged in or logged out, which is interesting. So the idea is that you could use your browser as you, and you're logged in or logged out. There's also, watch this. This is kind of cool. I can say use cloud browser. So this is fundamentally different than if you use ChatGPT in the app. It's always going to spin up a cloud browser versus use your browser in your logged in state. I think it's interesting. Lot to play with here from a agentic developer builder perspective. Now, programmatically, I want to do all this through, the SDK. Like, okay, spin up browsers, click things, tell me where there's holes, all that kind of stuff. So that is my tool that I'm playing with this week.
I have two questions from that. One, the real thing that anybody cares about is, when does it show that you first joined ChatGPT?
Oh, yes.
What's your number?
Do
you all have your number? Because that's
where do you see this?
Yeah, where do you find that?
When you
it's in your settings, I think. Here it is. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Share my screen. Let's go. Okay, so
I got my number.
If you open your settings, right, and
incredible.
All right, Thorsten, did I beat you? 1,050
by 2 days, dude. Yes! I have 1,053. Yeah.
But then again, this is good. This is good UX, right? To get people excited about it. You can say.
And people have been sharing it like crazy. I've only seen 2 people beat me on Twitter so far. So if you all want to share your,
what's your number, Graham?
1642.
What?
That's not possible.
Did you buy this on
it's
eBay?
when you first created an OpenAI account, not a ChatGPT account. So it's like if you signed up for the dev portal when it was just DevTools.
So it's fake.
No, Graham's just cooler than us. We just have to admit it.
I'm just terminally early to things. I just cannot. And that's not a good thing, right? Like timing is everything, and I am way too early to basically everything.
Except for this stream, you showed up late. So.
No, I was actually early. I was just off camera because I didn't want you all to see me eating my salmon bagel. But Joe Heitzberg from AI Tinkerers is 1920.
What? That's
Yeah.
annoying.
He's
like
like
Francisco 11:45.
11:45. Pretty good.
Well done, Francisco.
I have to say, Ryan, when I saw that I beat you, I was like, oh my gosh, yes.
You should have celebrated that a little bit more.
Yeah, I didn't. I just
AJ, what are your numbers?
Do you have your numbers yet?
I actually haven't even checked yet, but the only thing I can really brag about is X. I've been on X since 2008.
Oh my god.
Okay, that's early.
All right, you win. That's it.
No, 2006.
What?
Oh my god.
I'm like user like 19,000 or something.
At some point, it tips over into this guy's old.
Yeah.
Everybody, I'm the oldest person here. This is true. So.
All right, so we're the only other thing, Ryan, you said something about like when someone lands on Untangled and they can talk to like this is the first thing they see when they get divorced. Like, what are they going to look at? It just makes me think like, is that how Untangled works? And like, are you going to have a landing page that's like, she's not into it, bro. Like, here's the.
I will now, thanks to your amazing idea. So watch out.
Cool. So before we get into Sayan and AJ's tips, I just wanted to bring up a few things that we talked about in Build Crew this week, which I think were really fun. So we've got Ravi, who's a user of our Build Crew team member. He consistently says like, I'm not technical. And then he proceeds to show how he, instead of using any GUI on his desktop, he now just runs 3 different terminals. And he has one that's all of his messaging. So he just pulls in all of his messages from one app. He navigates all of his file folders from another thing. And so he's just rebuilt his own desktop via terminal windows, which is like the coolest thing. And it also makes me think like everything feels like it's up for displacement right now, but is even the Omarchy, I guess you would say yes, but even the OS like up for displacement right now, and are more people going to start using the terminal for all kinds of different things? You guys seeing this at all?
Yes, everything's programmable. It's wild. Like there's so much custom software you can make. I know Beyond vibe coded some sort of control for his Mac where he can like listen to audio from a tab on Chrome and control it from, the top menu type thing. Like,
yeah. It's crazy.
I'm
AJ,
waiting
you're
for
nodding your head.
I'm waiting for a TUI mail client.
Oh,
there's a bunch, I think. Yeah.
Thorsten's like boring.
Yeah. There's a bunch. There's lots of them. Used them 15 years ago. Mutt was one of them.
Pine.
15 years ago.
Pine.
15 years ago. Dang.
Well, remember,
You just
all
never
CS
bring up anything
departments-
again, AJ.
Yeah, when I was studying computer science, literally 25 years ago, we used Pine and used Vim, and actually it was VI back then. So
yeah,
painful.
and I'm not sure if I get the dates right, but I guess the first email client might have been a terminal email client.
It must have been, yeah, to some degree.
Yeah.
It probably suck, right? I mean, if you compare Pine with what
on.
people, so AJ code it, I'll use it. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I think there's a space for it.
So Tim, the TUI man on our team, right? He has like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's called, but he uses a terminal email client, and so does Keegan, also on our team. I think he uses Emacs, which is somewhere in between, right? But the cool thing about having a terminal, it doesn't have to be a TUI, but like a terminal email client, is you end up with just text and you can feed it to your agents. So then you can say, find me that, basically what people are demoing right now, right? With the new Atlas browser, they're like, oh, I'm going to give, Claude, right? I'm going to give it access to Gmail and then can find my doctor's appointment or something. Keegan and Tim could have done this months ago without, MCP, whatever, but just saying, here, run these commands to filter emails and whatnot.
Yeah, I wonder if the browser is some kind of first step towards the device. I know that everybody's sort of forgotten about that video where it looked like Sam and
Johnny Ive.
Sam and Johnny Ive were a couple picking you up at a bar.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that this is sort of a step in that direction, right? Like if you use, everyone uses their browsers or almost exclusive app on their computer. So like, well, then where would this sit on the device? So I don't know if that's true or not, but that's something that's been poking around in my head.
I would argue, like remember half a year ago when the whole thing was like computer use, that basically, it moves the cursor around on your screen. I don't know. I don't want to call it a dead end, but I don't think a lot has happened in the last 6 months on this. But these agents are really good at using websites because they can look at the source code, right? And they can use JavaScript to modify them. And if you think of the web as the application platform, and if you think of agents as something you want to control applications, I think starting on the web by making the browser do stuff for you is a smart move, because then you can control the whole platform.
Yep. Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, I think actually, I don't know. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but
no,
yeah,
please,
I think
please jump in.
The computer use thing has definitely been, I think, like kind of dead in the water for the last 6 months. But I still do believe that if it gets a little bit better, or like it crosses that kind of the ledge it needs to get over, the amount of information you get would just be insane, right? Because so much stuff is just not built for like programmatic access. Like there's no APIs for most of the things that I want to do on the web to make my life slightly better. If we could get like an agent to actually click through and like fill out stupid forms for me and stuff like that, oh my god, yeah, I'd be twiddling my thumbs scrolling X a lot more, and that's kind of the
so I have a contrarian take on this, in that I really think though there's like a civil war right now in the web. There's people who are long on interfaces and ChatGPT and just forums and all that other stuff. And then there's other people who are like, nope, absolutely, I want to do, I want the LLM to do everything for me. I'm very firmly on the side of I want the LLM to do everything for me. So much so that the reason why this company I called With Context is I believe that you should just have LLMs go and do tasks for you, and you should just get the answer straight up on your face, as the answer to what you seek, almost immediately. So I'm long on TUIs. I'm long on I'm long on experiences rather than apps. So I kind of hope that like interfaces kind of go away.
I'll disagree a little bit with you. So initially, when I was building Untangle, you have to ingest a ton of information from the user about their divorce. Like it's a ton. Like it's all of their financial data basically. And I started out with the chat interface, just like, hey, let's just extract this stuff by chatting to the user. And it turns out like a lot of people want a structured form approach when they're entering data in. It feels bad because if you're like, tell us about your kids, and you're like, what do you need to know about my kids? Like, and it feels yucky and bad. But then it's kludgy to go to form based purely. So it's like, I think there's a mix here where users are going to get used to like a quick interview where it's like, okay, talk for a minute about your situation, and then we ingest that. You structure the data and you insert into the database, and then you show a custom UI where you're like, okay, here's the stuff we need still. I think there's a little bit of that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of nuance, right? Like I don't know who I'm agreeing or disagreeing with. I guess we all agree, but I agree with Sayan that I hate filling out forms, especially airline forms or travel booking. He's nodding because he's had 100 flights in the last year and he's been through pain, but this is the last thing, or when you pick lunch from some online ordering thing and it's like, oh, choose your sides. Here's the 5th page that you have to click through. I'm like, I just want like the barbecue burger and the fries. That's it. But then for, where you want reliable, deterministic, information input, yes, a form makes sense, but most of the stuff is not a form and probably shouldn't be.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yep. As a former,
so we all agree, right? We're all nodding. I brought us back into the phone.
we agree that you're done. No. So I'm just gonna quickly do one more build crew highlight, and then we'll jump into Science coding tip for the week. And so this is something that came up. We've been talking, and everyone I've said this to has felt like it resonated, which is, you tell the agent to do something. You say like, take as much time as you want. Take 5 minutes. And it's like, okay, I took 5 minutes. And it's like, no, you didn't. That was 30 seconds. Like, you know nothing. And so I created a tool using AMP Toolbox that basically gives it access to the computer's time. And then you could say like, hey, take 5 minutes on this and keep checking back to see if you've actually taken 5 minutes. And so I did it and built the toolbox. And then, so it says, you can see here, it says start a work session, and it gets the timestamp. And then when it's done, it said here, you can see perfect. I've successfully built out this meetups feature, required 3 minutes, and it actually took 8 minutes. So like now it has a like deterministic understanding of how much time it's actually taken to do stuff. And so I just, built this and ran it. I don't know if this is going to improve things significantly, or if it's going to still take the only amount of time it wanted to take and then just keep checking until it's done. But
this is cool.
It's a cool sort of thing that came out of Build Crew organically this week.
What will trigger the tool call? Do you think? What words?
You just have to tell it how much time you want it to take.
Interesting.
And then it will call the tool, and then it will do that. So theoretically, you could tell it to take 4 weeks, and we'll see what it comes up with. But
this is cool. Love it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting I'd be curious to see how this ends up working over time, because Claude specifically has like insanely incorrect assumptions on how long things will take. I mean, this has already been going around, so yeah, maybe it's in for a rude awakening. But I think the idea of putting it in a corner for like 4 weeks is, I don't know, at some point you actually kind of start to feel bad for the agent. It's like, you told me to send her a div, and I've done it in 2 seconds, but now I have 3 weeks left. That's funny.
Aren't its assessments on time the cutest thing in the world? It's like, it just pipes up and it's like, I think this is going to take about 2 days. This is probably going to be 3 days. And you're like laughing, going, that's so funny.
It's just trained on developers lying about how long stuff is going to take so they can do whatever they want. So that's why it takes that time.
Oh yeah. Asking it to do time estimates is funny. Yeah. Yeah. It does overestimate for sure.
But this is, so people have asked for this. And so I'm talking with somebody in the AMP team. I want to figure out a way where we can publish Toolbox, where I could just say like, publish this tool to my profile so anybody can see it. And we can have like a Toolbox registry so anybody can see other people's Toolbox. It feels like NPM packages, right? Like we should be able to share that stuff. So that's my tip of the week is use my time Toolbox. I'll make it available as a gist sometime soon. But Sayan, you're a real engineer and do real things. So what's your tip for the week for people?
Yeah, I'll keep mine generalish because I guess my experience with this tip has also kind of been with a product we have, and I can't follow on Thorsten's shilling. That's just too much. So, no. But all jokes aside, I think the thing that's been, I think, a big lift in just some of the work I'm doing is, I think a lot of the coding agent stuff is focused on like writing more code faster and stuff like that. And then the unfortunate other end of the loop is people have to actually read your code, usually yourself, hopefully first, and kind of review it to see if it makes sense. So the velocity at which you create code is increased, but reviewing code is still kind of a large bottleneck in the process. No one's saying we can't apply AI there. There's been a lot of interesting, I think, people working on that sort of stuff. But I think it's the thing that's been a big tip for me, or like really useful in my own workflows. It's really actually super easy, especially with AMP, I'm sure with a lot of other LLMs and tools, to kind of just spin up a very bare bones like review process. You can very simply just make it kind of ingest a diff from like GitHub or whatever your code host is, kind of run that in whatever CI you have. And like with a pretty simple prompt that you can tweak yourself, you can just get really useful, meaningful feedback on these diffs. And like, this is something we have internally at SourceGraph for like running our own like code review over PRs and stuff on AMP. And like, I've heard from a couple different people, myself included, that it like, a lot of the time I'll push up a PR even if it's not ready, and I'll like mark it just so I can get the review, because like and people always say, I think the gut reaction they have is, well, if it wrote it, then why is it going to have any different feedback? I mean, like it's going down a bunch of different paths every time, right? It's all probabilistic. So I think it's been very useful. Like there's a lot of times it catches like stupid small mistakes, and a lot of times it actually makes me scratch my head and kind of go back to the drawing board. So yeah, I think it's been very useful to kind of use it on both sides and not just focus on writing code.
This goes back to our just toss it over the fence thing, right? But you're tossing it over the fence to an agent, to
itself,
not a person.
Yeah,
to itself. Yeah.
I mean, Sayan, has code review, when you have to review code, has it changed for you with agents?
Yeah, I think so. And I know like people on our team like Bayon are working on this a little bit, and I was talking with him about this. I think it's changed a little bit, but there's still so much more. Like I think the one thing now is, especially if I'm reviewing a PR, I'll check it out, and like a lot of times I'll like try it out and stuff, but also I'll just get like like AMP to explain it to me or something, or like, okay, like what does this part actually do? Like it just becomes so much more accessible. Like a lot of the times, like when you get like a 3,000 line PR or whatever, sometimes like, you sit down with your blanket and you're scrolling through like the files page, and that kind of becomes a little bit more like archaic. I think you can get a lot of that, most of the information for the first pass from an AI agent. And I think also, one more thing I'll add here is I think, especially when you're in the process of writing your own code, maybe not reviewing somebody else's, like because the agent is writing most of it now, you're not so intimately familiar, maybe most of the time, with all of the code and all of the lines and while they're there. So I think some of the things we were thinking about and exploring is like having maybe the first level pass not be organized by files, which is kind of how it's been previously, but kind of by like features or like chunks, right? Where you can have something that the LLM decided to implement that spans maybe 3 or 4 files. It doesn't really make sense to split that by file, but rather by what the intent was. And then maybe you can like highlight a feature and you can see all the diffs it touched across files and stuff like that. So I think there's definitely some head scratching and prototyping to be done there.
Like it. Justin's commenting on Atlas here. Going to stick with probably Chrome. So just real quick, is anyone going to switch to Atlas? What is everyone's browser? So let's go around the room. Graham, what's the browser?
I'm really burned by Arc and Dia. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait a little bit. Yeah.
Not ready to be heard again.
What's Dia? Isn't Dia the thing that turned into Atlas? Weren't they acquired, or what was the thing?
So Dia. So the original thing was Arc, and Arc was made by the browser company in New York City as a completely independent browser. I assume it was built on Chromium, and then they like abandoned it and switched to Dia. And it was like an agentic browser, and we're like, "What? Oh man, Arc was great." And then they got bought by Atlassian.
Atlassian,
yeah.
And then Atlas came out, and everyone's like, "Oh, whoops."
Yeah, I'm a Brave browser person. I just am. I like.
You use the Brave browser, or you use your browser bravely?
I don't use anything bravely. I actually use Coward browser. No. That's sad. Sad how true that is. All right, so we got a few minutes left, and I want to give AJ some time because we've all been talking about boring stuff, and AJ works on probably the coolest stuff, bar down. And he's building me a custom goalie helmet that he can talk about later, and I'm not going to pay a dime for it, and I'm just getting him to admit to that live on stream, so he can't take it back. But AJ, maybe you want to tell us a little bit about what you're working on, and then share what your coding tip is for this week.
Sure, yeah. So I'm working on 2 things. First, I'm working on AR glasses apps. So I'm a developer on the Mentra platform, and I've built a number of apps. Physical Copilot for Human Labor, Clairvoyant, which is an assistant that will leverage AI memory to help you win arguments with your wife every single time.
There's
and
no
then
winning.
one for
There's no winning that.
Of course, if I have perfect recall, maybe there is.
No, reason doesn't matter.
I
Anyway,
say this as I twitch my ring. I'm like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. And the third is more for sports, which is this app that will show plays on your face, which is important for athletes in during training time. If you're a football player, you'll probably understand. You need to be able to just do drills really, really fast. You're usually rate limited by the number of drills that you can put on your arm. We can do that on a pair of heads-up display glasses. So
that is so cool.
That's what I'm working on. And my tip, I can share my screen. I have 2 tips to share. I think it's already up. Yep. I love using the AMP CLI. I think there's a few things that I would decorate it with. The first is LazyGit, which is a CLI tool for just seeing all your work trees, your local branches, your commits, etc. And it's just a lot faster to just see the tree as you're working through creating PRs through AMP. I write a few machine learning repos as well, and one of the great things in machine learning is that you could just one of the necessary things in machine learning is actually being able to just create many training iterations. And what I do is I tell AMP, I'm like, hey, go and create 5 unique training jobs, each with these hyperparameter adjustments, and then create a separate Git branch out of that, so I can review each training job as it's been deployed and then compare them against each other. So that's where having LazyGit is so useful. And then of course the other one is, especially as I get work on monorepos, Yazi, which is just on the bottom right here. And that's just to be able to, navigate through.
How do you spell this? Sorry.
Yazi? Yazi is Y-A-Z-I.
I don't know about this. Tell us more.
Oh yeah, it's just it's literally like a Finder in your terminal, and
cool.
it helps me
browse the
go through.
repo.
Yeah, and then you can open Vim as well. So it's that's kind of
cool.
nice as well.
Because
I'm
always hitting Control N to reveal the directory structure in Neovim, but this is like way nicer.
Yes, I think it's great. I really love it. So yeah, that's that as well. And then the second tip is Librarian. This is from AMP, and I think it's so useful. I like to keep consistency in the way I define my so I use modal quite a bit to define endpoints. And I have my own sort of GitHub org that I write in, and I'm just like, hey, preserve the way that I write. I define my modal, endpoints, and it literally just goes and searches that thing and then finds it, and I think that's fantastic. So it looks kind of like this. Those are the two tips I have.
Graham, should I do my product placement and explain what Librarian is?
We don't co-opt our guests like that. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
If this wasn't this was a layup. Like, what is this? I mean, no, that's a perfect use. Okay, like I think that's perfect. So the Librarian came out also this week. It's only Wednesday, but on Monday, it's a new specialized sub-agent in AMP, and its only job is to research code, to find and read code on GitHub, meaning in your own repositories, in your own org, or open source. And AJ's use case, like, hey, look in these other repos in my.
I can actually do the prompt if you want to see that.
Yeah. So okay, I have a follow-up question for you. Yeah.
So I need to create a Hello World Fast API template using modal. I write this in a very specific way. Some examples of include are in this particular repository that I've got. Can you ask the librarian to take a look at the structure? Okay, I screwed up the spelling there, and make a copy. So I will say that right now it's searching quite a few repos, given that I was pretty specific about what to look for. But nonetheless, it did find a pattern, and it did give me back the pattern, this Hello World template, just like exactly the way that I define my endpoints. So save me writing a bunch of code over and over again, just automatically, which I really appreciate.
Out of curiosity, why you don't have these other repos local on your machine?
I do, but at this point, I think I've got like, I don't know. There's too many repos to keep track in my mind.
Yeah.
And AutoJump is a fun tool that I use to jump between different directories. But honestly, my source of truth in my mind is still Git, and I prefer to look there.
Yeah, interesting. Because I mean, technically, if it's on your machine, the agent could find it. But at least in my practice, it's then absolute paths, and it's a different relative directory, and then you're like, oh, is this the current state and whatnot? And
I rename things like a madman. I mean, and it's just for my own mental clarity. But of course, when you do that, like, so many things will break, and I know that it happens. I still don't care. I'm still going to do it. And I think Librarian, for that reason, just looking through Git is fantastic.
I've got a quick thing I've been using in 2 minutes I can show. Producer Dan, if you pull this up. So this is my setup. I'm using Ghosty. On the right, you have AMP. In the middle, you have Neovim with a random file. And on the left, I've got my dev server. I'm running AMP free. And we've got IDE integration now, which I just love. So you basically type /IDE. And then it says, okay, you've got Neovim up. Do you want to connect to that? And you say, yes, I do. And this is kind of basic stuff, but it's so helpful. So I could say, for instance, so if I switch over here and go to line 115, switch back and say, what's this line about? it's going to know, all right, here I am. And it talks about Salem. And it's probate Niantic Regional, which isn't exactly the line I was on, which is interesting. I'm curious how this works. But I've noticed, I'm like, wait a second, it's not working quite right. But it has the file and the context, and I use this all the time so that it knows kind of what I'm doing, what I'm working on. So just type /ID and it connects to Neovim, and I love it.
That's very cool. This has been like a packed episode. We have gotten a ton of stuff in here and even a few jokes. Not the ones we had before we went live, but that's okay. AJ, this is like, we really, really appreciate you joining, but
Thank you.
I feel like we didn't even get to dive into how cool some of the stuff you're working on is. Like, can you, where can people see what you're doing and how can we share some of that? And then we got a great question here.
Sure. Definitely go check out my website. Follow me on X. I usually just post things. Most of what I'm building is in person, obviously. So these glasses that I use to test out all these AR apps. If you're in New York, you can find me and I'll give you a demo, or you can buy these yourself and go on Mentra's website and download the apps that I make. Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, find me on my website, and we can chat.
Okay, when AMP client for glasses so that you can just be talking to people and coding at the same time.
I would love that. I would.
So we're not going to sponsor that, but build it, please. That would be great. Okay.
Cool.
Guillermo had a question here. Repos cloned locally is cool for manual reading, but for search, Librarian is huge. Oh, I see. It's the Librarian question. Yeah, I think this is important. Like to what you were saying about you may have all these files locally, but like every time I think about what state the current files are versus like just pulling down the GitHub, it gives me anxiety. So like I think of the same thing. Like everything is GitHub is the source of truth. Whatever trash is on my local machine doesn't matter, and I shouldn't think of as reality. Yeah, specialized agent. This is sort of a thing that we've talked about, Guillermo, that maybe Thorsten, you want to talk about this just briefly in a minute. Like Quinn's whole thought on like generalized agents versus specialized agents and how we're leaning more specialized agents. Do you agree with that? Is that something that is a company-wide thought or just a Quinn thought?
I think I agree with Quinn. I think we've seen a lot of success with these specialized sub-agents, now Librarian, before Oracle, which we still have, and the code-based search agent, which it's now called Finder. We've had this from the start. I think they work really well. They get a new context window, they can do their job, and they come back with the results. The general sub-agents, which we've also had, I think, pulled up the blog post since July, I think, they can edit files too, and they're general. So they don't have like a prompt that says, your job is to be the librarian. You're a coding agent. And I think we haven't found, or nobody has a good UX for this, where you suddenly have these sub-threads and then one of them might get blocked and you cannot you can in some clients look into what they're doing, but it feels brittle and it feels complex and it feels like something that a lot of people, overestimate in what it can do. And sometimes they build like elaborate workflows where they kind of use this as like an automation thing. And basically the idea would be, you have the main agent and you say, spawn like five EC2 machines and one sub agent for each. And I think as soon as you have like something that looks like usual control flow, like a loop, 5 times do this, deterministic control flow. As soon as you have this, I think you should step out of the agent and use actual programming, and then inside your deterministic control flow, spawn the agents. So ask AMP to whip you up a script to whip you up a script to 5 times with these parameters, invoke amp-x or Claude whatever it is, but don't try to build deterministic workflows on agents. You have to flip it around. And I think, to shorten this, sub agents kind of, I don't know, they make the other thing more likely to happen.
Yeah, that's all good. I'm the one who asked you a long question 1 minute before the end of the show.
Yeah.
So no, it's my bad. Cool. This is great. It is. Yes, exactly. This is great. I love this. We're now on Wednesdays. We're going to remain on Wednesdays. So just for everybody's calendars who's waiting with bated breath for the show to go live, that's when you can think of it now. AJ, thank you so much for being our guest today and putting up with our pre-show audio debacle. Last week it was Ryan, so don't feel bad. It's great. It's great to have you, and I can't wait to. I'm going to be in New York in 2 weeks, so maybe we'll do a build crew meetup and
let's
see if we can hang out
go. Let's go. All right. Thank you.
Yes. Sayan, thanks for joining us today from the team, taking a step away from writing code. Ryan, appreciate you as always, being the man who is on top of whatever is happening on Twitter at all times. And Thorsten, I wish I could say nice things, but it's the way it always is. So
Private agent.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for joining. We'll see y'all next week.
See you next time.
Thank you.